Tuesday evening in front of your screen means one thing, the VRRC mini challenge series, and we are virtually at Croft this evening, so welcome along and a warm welcome to our co-commentator for today, Henry Foote, and of course Steve Allen looking off the broadcast for us. But hi Henry, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you guys for having me again. Really looking forward to some great racing this afternoon.
It should be good. Very much looking forward to it. Bit of a role for me as far as Croft's concerned, because I was there doing some real world commentary just weekend before last with the Fun Cup and various other championships. So I'm on a bit of, I don't have to remember other corner names. So I haven't sort of jumped in and out of different tracks, which is quite good. But very much looking forward to this round, which is the fourth of 7 with the Mini Challenge UK. So we're pretty much slap bang in the middle of the schedule, as you can see. Silverstone next week, then we're off to Croft. Then we've got a week off before we reconvene for round 7, the final round, which is Brands Hatch GP. So very much looking forward to those. The format, as ever, we've got a qualifying session, 2 half-hour races, leading to points which the drivers will score. The standings at the moment look like this. If you haven't seen the championship before, the scores that we've got there, the total scores on the right, do reflect one dropped round. I think when we're at the championship for real, we probably only reflect the dropped scores towards the end of the season. But with VRRC, we're dropping scores right from the word go. And it's Andy Dorman who leads the way, just 2 points ahead of Lewis Stannard at the moment, with Harry Hickton in third, Andy Carroll fourth from Lee Piercy and James Black. The top 6 comprising a very good mixture of real-world drivers and sim lads and lasses as well, because we had Cat Potter, didn't we, the other week as well. Alex Solly 7th, then it's Thomas Potter. Thomas is back with us this week. Kenzie Taylor is 9th from 10th position. Paul Laramie, all of those drivers in with a very good shout of coming up into the top 3 as we move into the second half of the season. 11th is Henry Howarth, who's been quick the last couple of rounds, very consistent as well, has been Kenny Press. Will Clark is back with us this week. I think he was in the server doing a little bit of testing beforehand, so welcome back, Will. William Yap, 14th from Will Crooks. Then it's Chris McKenzie in the Bitcoin racing car. Chris, I think fresh from a victory, was it Snetterton at the weekend? I'm sure I read somewhere that he'd taken a win in City Car Cup, so Chris on winning form in the real world. Then it's Kevin Yap 17th from Callum Einstein, Jack McCall in 19th, Alex Walker wrapping up our top 20. 21st, Zach Hancock. I think Zach not quite with us this week. Monroe Renard's been in the service, so good to see Monroe back with us for his second outing. Murray Richardson, DNS last time out, and Christian Gillian recovering from his injury. Simon Sweetland, we haven't heard from Simon. It'd be great to see you on track. Hopefully we will catch up with you very, very soon. So that is our championship table as we look forward to our latest round. Actually, before we do that, I forgot, we always do a little look back, don't we? A quick recap on the top 3 from last week. Harry Hickton taking the win and driver of the round. Henry Howarth in second. And Lewis Stannard wrapping up our podium, and he made the podium for the second week on the bounce, did Lewis. So all good close stuff, and looking for much the same this evening. And this is what the Croft circuit looks like from above. A great track. Everyone said they love it apart from the hairpin, but the hairpin gives us a great overtaking opportunity. And we've got one of our virtual reality racing club stars to record a hot lap a little bit earlier on. So we're going to have a look at that. And this will be in the company of Henry Foote. Now, Henry, I remember interviewing you in the Fiesta Juniors. So I know you've raced here, and we'll get your input into a lap, which is with Jack Smith, who I think's racing in the VRRC Touring Car Championship at the moment, which takes place Wednesday night. But Henry, give us a chat on your way around Croft.
Thank you, Richard. It's awesome circuits. We start off going into turn 1 super fast, try and stay out the gravel on the exit of turn 1 before we go into a super tight right-hander around Hawthorne Bend. Feels like it goes on for ages, but from here on, you're flat out all the way down the end of the straight through this really tight chicane. Try and take as much track as you can, but stay away from the tyre stacks. They can be quite dangerous. Now it's a long straight, so an awesome opportunity for some overtakes at the end, especially with such an important exit zone beforehand. Before we come into Tower Bend, tricky but fast, almost like a hairpin, but very late apex. Again, you want to try and get an amazing exit here because got a really long flat out section through the Jim Clark S's. Here it's just about trying to straighten yourself out as much as possible and take as much track as you can, because by shortening the run, you're going to have less time and it's going to be quicker. So it's all a really long section. Again, potentially an overtaking opportunity to this really fast sunny in, but maybe not because it is so quick. Next is sunny out. Again, just a little lift before going back down into a short straight before we get into the complex at the end. This is my favorite part of the track. Super fun, super flowing. So quick left before we go into quite a more awkward right over here, but if you can get over that curb, it can really hook the car around before you get into the most awkward corner of the track, the hairpin. Really slow. But again, here it's really vital to get a good exit because you're onto that long straight before you get back to the finish line. So super important to get an exit, both for finishing off your lap and starting another one.
That was an entertaining lap with Henry, and indeed our onboard with Jack Smith. It's no coincidence that the commentary position for real overlooks the complex, which, as Henry said, is one of his favourite parts of the track. We get a lot of action going on. It's one of the key overtaking places. But then you can say the same of Clervaux Turn 1, Hawthorne Turn 2, Tower a little bit maybe, and Sunny. Lots of overtaking opportunities around the Croft circuit. So we are going into our qualifying session. Quick note again, if you look at the top middle of your screen, Racing Against Dementia is our supported charity. We are going to have a properly sponsored event a little bit later on in the year, but I can tell you the fundraising has already started on that. Qualifying has started already as well. 12 minutes to go, and we're looking at Andy Carroll at the moment. Andy is 4th in the championship, dropped from 3rd last week. He was 2nd after the first week, and Andy loses a little bit of ballast, down to 21 kg ballast today, and that means that he might be able to creep up the order a little bit. Top of the ballast and top of the standings is Andy Dorman. This is virtually his home track, Andy Dorman, as we watch Andy Carroll. How competitive is this championship? I'm not quite sure whether Henry has been following it, but some stats for you and anybody who's watching for the first time. We've had 3 different pole setters at the 3 events that we've had so far, and 6 races and 6 different winners. It really has been a competitive series so far, and that is what it is all about. We like to see things very, very close. 2-point championship lead. Lewis Stannard and Harry Hickton joint 2nd on 182. I think Lewis, by virtue of maybe having a win earlier or slightly better results on countback, was P2 in the table and has a little bit more in terms of ballast as we watch Thomas Potter in the blue and white number 38, and Thomas back from, I think, where you are, Henry. You're in France, aren't you, at the moment?
Yep, absolutely. Missing the racing a little bit, but enjoying the nice weather as well. And yeah, the racing is looking like it's going to be incredible this evening. I think it's looking like it's going to be very competitive. We can already see in the times there's 2 drivers into the 29s. Thomas Potter the fastest so far. But I think we're going to see lots of improvements. I can see on the time boards at the moment lots of green sectors coming in, so it's going to be quite an interesting qualifying ahead.
It's looking that way already, isn't it? Thomas Potter and Lewis Stannard 1 and 2, with Harry Hickton setting early pace in 3rd, Andy Carroll 4th, Malik Solly and Andy Dorman, James Black 7th from Lee Piercy, Henry Howarth in 9th, Monroe Renard 10th. Wherever you look, there are drivers in with a shout of getting wins and podia in this championship. We've got some quality right the way down the order. A quick reminder that we've got a reverse grid race, race 2, top 10 finishing positions get reversed as we watch Lewis Stannard aiming to set pole. I'm wondering actually whether this affected you in Fiesta Junior, Henry, but a lot of these cars are quite close together. How important is it to get a bit of breathing space for a qualifying lap here?
I'd say it's almost the opposite. For lots of the series, like the Fiesta Juniors and the Mini Challenge, the tow is really, really strong. And even in qualifying, having a car ahead of you, for one to chase and to have an aim to go and push forward to, but also to be within that tow, can actually give you a massive advantage. Because we've seen at points, especially in the Trophy Series, the tow has been worth half a second, if not more, per lap. So of course, these are JCW, so it's slightly quicker, but the tow will still be strong. And by chasing someone ahead, it gets you in that mindset to be pushing as hard as possible. So I think having a car relatively close, within a few car lengths ahead, but not so close that you're going to get held up, is around the optimum place you want to be. So you've got something to push for, but also a minor tow, but not so much that you're going to end up catching up and getting held up at the end of the lap.
Thanks for that. I don't know whether a tow is built into the sim programming or not, personally. I don't know if anyone knows about that. As we watch James Black, currently down in 8th position. Thomas Potter still sits on provisional pole. So he was away on an educational outing last week at France. So his sister Kat raced for half points. Probably going to be his drop score, one would imagine, out of the lot. Thomas doubling up in the VRRC touring car head-to-head challenge, as we said, Wednesday night. Scott Wood was on commentary duty for that with Becky Aparicio. So looking forward to watching those tomorrow evening. Lewis Stannard still in second. This is kind of what we've been getting up to towards the last couple of weeks. It was weird not having Thomas here last week. We had Lewis Stannard there, Harry Hickton, and Henry Howarth. Henry saying last week that he wasn't that confident on his qualifying, and that seems to be the case at the moment. He's down in 11th. He, by his own admission, is a better racer. I'm going to put Henry Foote on the spot here. What's your... You've raced against Henry Howarth, so how did you find that in the juniors? I think you raced against Henry, didn't you?
I actually didn't. I think he was in the
he was
year
in seniors
before me.
last year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
My apologies. My bad. Do you know what? You forget who's raced against who when all the championships merge into each other. But he's having a good run race-wise, but plenty of work to do, and you don't really want to have to do that work, do you? You want to qualify well and be in the mix at the front from the get-go.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, qualifying, in my opinion, can actually be a lot more difficult in the race. Of course, people will think that it's just about setting a lap, but the fact is, because it's so close, you've got to get almost every single corner perfect. And for lots of drivers, it can be a lot of pressure. And what might seem like it could be even more pressure in the race can actually, the fact that you're not having to be completely perfect everywhere. Of course, you're going to try to be as quick as possible. But for example, being in that pack and not having the same amount of pressure means that racing can, in some ways, be easier. So, of course, you don't want to be putting yourself in a situation where you're too far down the grid. But of course, you can always make places back if you do have a bad qualifying. But it is a really difficult skill to be amazing at qualifying and to be able to bang out consistent, really, really quick laps, especially when it's a really tight field where a tenth or so could put you back a few positions.
It can be a huge difference, can't it, qualifying to racing? And one of the drivers that stands out for me this year in British F4, if you've been following that, the lad that races with Fortec, he's had like 2 double poles, but just can't get the car off the line and get involved in the racing, which is a major pity. But yeah, 2 completely different disciplines, and you've, I guess, to be the complete package to go for the championship, you've got to try and, got to get the best out of both of those worlds. As we pick up on Murray Richardson, good to see Murray in the Vera Tools car. Vera Tools, of course, pretty much omnipresent, or the alliance is pretty much omnipresent along the top level of British motorsport at the moment. Mentioned F4, Chase Fernandez and company away to Zandvoort this weekend. I think, weather permitting. I saw there was Zandvoort was quite badly damaged with the storms that they'd had. Here's Will Clark. Lovely to see Will back with us. Had 3 out of 4 top 10 finishes, which is a pretty good set of results over the first 2 rounds we had at Donington Park and Snetterton. So looking to move up a little bit further in this one. He's doing well here at the moment. He's in 7th place, so just shy of Alex Solly on the timing screens at the moment is Will. Goes through the chicane. Got to say, we've got a better virtual crowd for this than we had for our club meeting the other week. Although, having said that, there were quite a few people watching the Fun Cup on the bank on the Saturday, enjoying the sun and enjoying the 4 hours of Fun Cup racing. We had an hour sprint race and then a 3-hour endurance race, which was terrific fun. I implore you, if you've not seen Fun Cup, to have a look at it. And if you want to get involved in endurance racing at an early level, it's a terrific championship to learn about that. There's some really good drivers in it, some teams that really know what they're doing in terms of endurance. But getting back to minis, we've got Thomas Potter still on the top of the stack from Lewis Stannard P2, Harry Hickton in 3rd from Andy Carroll. So things relatively stable at the front at the moment with 3 minutes to go as we pick up with Andy Dorman down in 10th. I think the ballast is going to be hitting Andy around here, Henry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ballast can have a massive impact because not only is it going to affect you down the straights by having a heavier car, but also around the corners as well. It's going to affect potentially the balance of the car as well, but ballast is just generally going to harm you everywhere. So it is a difficult thing to drive around, but you can see some people near the top, like Harry Hickton and Lewis Stannard, they're quite high on the ballast as well, and they're managing to get close, but not quite to pole. So you can see it does have an effect considering they were up at the front for some of the other weekends. So the fact is that it is enough to make a big difference, and it is a difficult thing to drive around, but it is possible if you're quick enough. So it's just about trying to make the most of what you have, and of course ballast is going to slow you down. So just trying to get up as high as you can for the racing, when hopefully the tow will be able to potentially compensate for a little bit of your difficulties, is pretty much the best thing you can do when you've got that slight disadvantage compared to the others that will have none.
I think Andy Dorman was kind of talking himself into the problems that ballast would bring last week when I raced it with him. And I know a lot of the virtual reality racing club regulars don't really like dwelling too much on the ballast. They just like to get out and deal with it, as we watch Harry Hickton in 3rd place trying to close down on the time set by Lewis Stannard, who is in P2 at the moment. Andy Carroll remains in 4th. James Black is actually relegated now into 6th place because Alex Solly has moved up into 5th ahead of him. So some good progress from Alex Solly now, up into 5th place, and will complete provisionally the 3rd row of the grid with 2 minutes to go. So you watch Harry Hickton. One of the points I was making, Henry, over the last couple of weeks is how well the real world drivers are integrating in terms of performance here with our regular sim drivers. And I think when I started working on the esports commentary a few years ago now, the sim guys were probably a lot quicker, but the gap seems to have closed up. And I don't know whether whether drivers have spent more time on the sim or whether we've just got a better crop of drivers this year.
I'd say it's potentially, I don't know if it's a bit of both, but the thing is, nowadays the simulators are so good and there's so much variety that no matter what you can drive, there's something you can use either to practice on or to race in. And I think that's just why that real world drivers have started to catch up a bit more with those on the sim, because sim drivers, they do spend a whole load of time on the sim practicing because it is where they race. But real world drivers now have that ability to practice on the simulator as well. I know for all my race weekends beforehand, I will always be on the sim almost every day in advance, just because even if it's not quite perfect, learning the tracks, learning how the car's going to handle, even if it's not exactly the same, can all make big differences, because even driving a variety of cars, it's going to increase your skills and increase your driving ability. So the thing with simulators nowadays is that they're so good that you can learn a lot from them. And that's, yeah, I think why the gap is closing down, because real world drivers are spending a lot of their time on the simulators now.
It has to help, doesn't it? I know from other tasks that I do and when I'm learning new stuff that repetition of a task is as good a way as any to learn something. You know, even at my advanced age, I'm finding that's actually probably because of my advanced age that, you know, repetitive learning is a good thing, and that's what sims do offer, assuming you're learning because you're getting better. That is to watch Andy Carroll now. I'll tell you what, Andy Dorman's done well. He's got up into the top 7. He was momentarily 6th, but it's changed around a little bit now. Lewis Stannard down to 3rd because Andy Carroll, who we're looking at, has gone up into P2. It's a very good position. The sim lads are having a little bit of a comeback this weekend. There we go. I got my first weekend in rather than evening. So Andy Carroll on for P2, back with Thomas Potter, who has 21 seconds remaining on the clock. I don't think he's going to squeeze another lap out. This is coming into the final section. Nice that they've got the new commentary box up on this. I haven't got a crop in the field at the exit of Tower Corner, I noticed, but here is Thomas, who's going to go across the line. He could get another lap in, but instead decides to go down the rather narrow pit lane. Lewis Stannard getting a little bit of traffic, which is going to potentially halt the opportunity to grab a fast lap here. as he goes down into the hairpin for the last time. Takes a very, very wide run indeed around there. Might give him a bit of pace as he goes down into turn 1, but in fact opts to come into the pit lane. So qualifying is complete. Thomas Potter at the moment is the pole position man, so I'll put a big 1 by his name on the sheets. Lewis Stannard wounds up in 3rd place. 2nd position going to Andy Carroll. I've written down all the numbers wrong. Harry Hickson was 4th. And 5th position goes to James Black. So James holding on to that. And 6th was Alex Solly. 7th position, I think we've still got a few drivers just completing things at the moment, is Andy Dorman, 7th from Lee Piercy. Will Clark in 9th. Kenny Press 10th. So impressive from Kenny again. Henry Howarth, one to watch in the racing. He starts from 11th. Paul Laramie 12th from Alex Walker. Monroe Renard 14th from Callum Einstone. Murray Richardson in 16th from Kevin Yap. Jack McCall is 18th from William Yap. Then it's Will Crooks and Chris Mackenzie. You can expect good things from Chris as the meeting goes on. But they are your qualifiers for our first race, and we'll have a word with them in just a couple of moments. So we kick off our interviews with a man who's just secured 3rd position on the grid. That's as good a place to start as any, really, with the quality we have in the field. We'll say good evening and very well done to Lewis Stannard. How are you this evening, Lewis?
Yeah, I'm alright, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. P3, and obviously you had a pole. So basically, we've got our first second pole sitter in Thomas Potter because he had pole at Donington, but you weren't at that first round. So interesting session, and you held second for most of it, but you sound a little bit disappointed, but you could race from there.
I mean, I'm not disappointed about the position. I'm just disappointed because on my last lap I was 2/10 up and I was on for a 29.4 something, and then there was just 3 cars in front of me and I had to abort. But the pace is definitely there.
Yeah.
But just a shame that we couldn't actually put it in.
Well, at least you know you got it to go into the race, which is good, Lewis. Championship-wise, just 2 points down on Andy Dorman. Andy found himself a little bit further back in that session, so you know potentially we don't look at the championship positions necessarily race by race, but you know if the qualifying form's repeated, that will see you back into the lead slot in the championship.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not really trying to think about the championship round. I'm just getting my head down, race by race, just getting as much as you possibly can, and that's what I'm gonna keep going forward. You know, obviously leading the championship's great, but then you get more ballast, so it's a bit of 50-50.
Yeah, double-edged sword, isn't it? What's your thoughts on Croft? Have you been at Croft with the JSCCs at all? I can't remember where everybody's raced.
Yeah, so the last round I did was at Croft. It was before Oulton, and we had an alright weekend. Wasn't the greatest, a lot of car issues, but it's definitely a track up there in my favourites. This, especially in real life, it's just coming at you so quick. You can carry so much more speed than you actually think. It's a good track.
It's a lovely place to visit for real as well. I love that part of the world. It's very picturesque. The people are lovely. I always find on a Saturday when I'm sort of wandering around at a BTCC meeting, the crowd there are just, I don't know whether it's because it's the northeast or what, but everyone's just like really, really friendly and want to talk, and and very passionate about watching the racing, which is really good. I'm going to say well done, Lewis. I did bad last week because I didn't get a chance to talk to everybody on the podium. So I'm going to say well done. Great to catch up with you again. Hopefully we'll have another chat a little bit later on if you can make the podium. So well done, Lewis, in third place.
Thank you.
That was Lewis Stannard. Second position goes to Andy Carroll. Andy, brilliant stuff. Well done. How are you this evening?
Yeah, pretty good. Thank you. Cheers. Yeah, that was not expected to be on the top three. So
it's a repeat of the top two we had at Donington, isn't it? Because we had Thomas Potter on pole and Andy Carroll second. So yeah, that worked out quite well. And you grabbed a win in that first round as well, and Thomas didn't. So are we going to repeat that today?
I remember the first race was a bit of a struggle to get. I couldn't get past Thomas, but yeah, I can imagine it's going to be much the same, but with Lewis behind us pushing us. So yeah, it's in these cars. Yeah, every round, the gaps are so narrow that it's really hard work to try and keep up with the guys in front, let alone pass. And then you're just trying to decide whether to look forward or look behind to see what you should be focusing on, really.
You got a lump of ballast on board as well, haven't you? So
yeah,
both you and Lewis have done very well considering what you're carrying around the track.
Yeah, it helps in some corners actually. I find it stabilizes the car a little bit, the front of the car a little bit. But yeah, it certainly makes coming out some of the slower corners a bit tougher. But yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, so I quite found it does certain corners where without the ballast it can be a bit bumpy. It does seem to keep the front end a little bit more in check. So it's not all bad, but yeah, I'd certainly rather be in Tom's position, I think.
Yeah. What does I mean? You've spoken about the ballast and how it can be lumpy or otherwise, but does that? You can think about what you're doing in qualifying, but in the race, you kind of got to put the car where you can get ahead. So, is it a different kettle of fish in the race?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just hopefully survive the first few corners, and then just see. Tom's obviously going to be quick, so try and keep up with him, try and put pressure on him, and then just try and see where we end up with a few minutes to go and go from there, and hopefully be challenging, if not for a podium, hopefully for a win.
Nice one. Well done, Andy. Again, I'm going to try and not ask too many questions because I want to give everyone a fair crack of the whip this week. So Andy Carroll, P2, very well done, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later on, Andy. As we move over to the top step of the qualifying podium, and welcome back from France, our co-commentators in France at the moment, Thomas. But hope you had a good week. First of all, congratulations on pole position and the first driver to bag 2 so far this season. How are you today?
Well, yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing this one because, around my home track, Croft as well, which is actually the first track I've tested a car in as well, which I'm buzzing. So I'm gonna, hope to make it, into a pole this time and not mess it up on my last corner like I did at Donny.
I think before we go any further, we need to send very best wishes to your granddad, who's in University Hospital of Durham. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this race is towards him as he's getting better in hospital right now, and he's watching it in the hospital, and I'm pretty sure he'll be watching it with for people looking after him. So this race is for you, granddad, and let's hope I can get a win.
And I'm told to say that if he hasn't got any, that there is custard at the ready, presumably for when he comes out. You'll know more about that than me.
Absolutely, there is. If not, then I'll be at his house waiting.
Nice one. Yeah, really good qualifying then. So second driver to take the pole position in this one. It's been such a competitive campaign so far. 3 different pole sitters and 6 different winners. And you haven't had a win yet, so we could potentially get a 7th different winner. Have you been watching the progress of Lewis though, and how do you feel about racing against Lewis and Andy Carroll and Harry Hickton as well, who lines up 4th? It's going to be tight, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know Andy well and how he races. I know, hopefully if he gets past, I can get back past. But I've been doing some race runs with Lewis actually, and well, the driving style seems to be quite similar to mine. So it's going to be, well, hard to defend because me and him are quite aggressive on the moves, but it's going to be a fun one. And I'm not too sure on Harry Hickton, but I'm sure I'll make my way halfway through the race.
That's great. Thomas, well done on pole position. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on. We've got a minute and a half or so to go before the race, so we'll let you get away and get ready. And all being well, possibly talk to you a little bit later on with a race podium. Thomas Potter, who takes pole position. And let's go back and join Henry Foote. Henry, what are your thoughts as we look forward to our first race?
I think it's going to be incredibly tight. I look back at the times from qualifying. I think the top 14 was about half a second. So everyone's within similar times, and especially now when it's going to be in pack racing, it's going to be super tight. And unless there's lots of battling in the mid pack and the leader gets to break away, I think it's going to be pretty close the entire way through. So it might be quite an exciting race ahead.
I think it's going to be exciting, and just to back up the point that Henry was making in qualifying, you do get the tow, thanks to Rich Hayden for confirming, you do get the tow in the sim software. So staying with each other on track is going to be a key part to make sure nobody can break away. I'm not saying we won't get anyone break away. Doesn't that look a really impressive grid? Really good to see it here. And we are now just 20 seconds away from the start, so the lighting sequence will be underway very soon. As soon as I say that, in actual fact, it pops up on screen. So it's Thomas Potter starting on pole position with Andy Carroll alongside Lewis Stannard. Is third with Harry Hickton in fourth place. Got some great shots of Harry Hickton in the real world a couple of years ago. Lights go out and we go racing. A little bit recalcitrant, I think, was James Black from fifth place, but he gets it off the line and he's still got the inside of the two cars that were trying to go around the outside of him. But it's Thomas Potter and Andy Carroll that lead them down into Clervaux for the first time. This is normally where you get piles of cars going off into the gravel in the real world. Maybe we will in the partially reverse grid race a little bit later on. We got three wide in actual fact, and Andy Carroll has to straight line the chicane to keep it all from getting into damage. It's Lewis Stannard that comes through now in the lead from Andy Carroll in P2. Thomas Potter is third, Harry Hickton fourth, Alex Solly fifth, James Black is in P6 as they round Tower Bend for the first time. Yeah, not the tidiest of, I was going to say turn one was okay, but Hawthorns and the chicane got a little bit ragged. But other than that, everybody through safely, Henry.
Yeah, exactly that. It's the same thing that happens in real life. Everyone tries to fit through that really tight chicane and it doesn't quite work. So I think jumping out of the way there was the right thing to do. As I think a bit of contact there between James Black. I didn't see who the other car was. Was it Lee Piercy?
It was Lee. That's a shame for both of those two drivers, both very quick and capable of taking race wins in VRRC. So shame they've gone down. Lee's not had the greatest of luck in this, which is a great pity because he's one of our top drivers in the VRRC. As you watch Alex Solly now up to fourth, Harry Hickton down in fifth at the moment, and Andy Dorman coming through as well. So Andy Dorman, oh, and Harry Hickton, did he get a little tag there? Not sure. Definitely goes sideways, tries to collect it up. Hickton in seventh place as Andy Carroll crosses the line in lead position after that first lap sort out with Tom Potter in second place. Lewis Stannard third from Alex Solly, Andy Dorman. Monroe Renard is up into sixth. Brilliant first lap from Monroe up into sixth place. And then Murray Richardson in seventh. No, make that eighth because Harry Hickton's just got his nose in front of him. But now things can start to settle down. And in terms of a race, obviously I'm guessing there's a little bit more adrenaline in the sort of opening first few corners, Henry. And then you're looking for like a race rhythm to click in?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, the top three at this point might have recognised the fact that they've got a little gap behind them. So everyone's going to start trying to settle in a little bit more now. Of course, when there's a position available, someone's going to go for it. But this point now in the race after the first lap is when everyone's going to sort of get used to the cars, get used to what's happening, feel where the tyres are, get everything warmed up. And of course, if there's a move on, make the most of it, as we see Monroe Renard and Murray Richardson going side by side there, going through sunny out. Of course, it's still going to be really tight racing, but I think the top three at this point now look like they've got a 1.5 second gap, so it looks like they're going to start trying to be a bit more sensible and pull away a bit more. But again, some really close racing for the complex. This part always creates some exciting moves.
Murray Richardson about to be passed by Henry Howarth in the pink car. Henry's very distinctive livery. And go through. So Henry's starting to pick his way through. He's already into the scenario where he'll be at the front in the reverse grid race if he finishes there. I'm sure he's actually going to wind up a little bit further up the order, as Andy Carroll is looking for his second win, looking to be the first double winner of the campaign, with Thomas Potter. Lewis Stannard hounding him as they go up what we sometimes refer to as the back straight. You can see the curve in the distance, which goes around to the left before they come into the right-hander here at Tower, and then out of there down through the Jim Clark S's, Barcroft, sunny in, sunny out, plenty of places to attempt an overtake, apart from the fact that when the cars are very evenly matched and the drivers are very evenly matched, it tends to straighten things out quite considerably, as Henry Howarth is busy having a look here at Will Yap in the Napa car, and Henry tries to tee up the inside. Will Yap goes wide, goes off in the gravel, loses out there. Is he going to be able to get back on? Yes, I think he is. So disappointing for Will, but he was under quite a bit of pressure there as he rejoins. Henry Howarth up into 8th place. Next target for Henry will be Monroe Renard. He's had, as we said, a decent start. Still Andy Carroll out front as Thomas Potter gets stuck in and tries to go for the lead, but that leaves him to go wide. And you heard his practice sparring partner, Lewis Stannard, getting in the mix here as well. But Thomas has recovered to grab the inside as they go along the straight down into Clervaux. Let's see what Lewis can do. And Lewis is coming out and having a go, but hasn't quite got the momentum to be able to do that. Gets a little bit ragged there. Now these two, I mean, what's the game plan here? I mean, if they've been practicing together, I'm guessing to some point they might work together during the race and then have a sort out a little bit later on. But we're barely 5 minutes into this, and they're squabbling like it's the lead and the championship battle that they're going for.
Yeah, exactly. I think whenever there's a move available, they're going to go for it. And as we see, Lewis Stannard goes for another one there. They're going to be side by side through Jim Clark S's all the way. I mean, what I got from what Thomas Potter said in the interview was that both of them are very aggressive with the way they race, and that will make for some very exciting racing. And it means neither of them are going to want to let this position go. But the only problem with that is now you can see Andy Carroll is starting to pull away a little bit more. So the more they fight, the more that gap will open up. And that means Thomas Potter will no longer be in the tow, so they'll drop back and back. So I think at this point, it almost looks like they've just started focusing on each other instead of going for the race win entirely. But you never know, they might still close back in if they start working together.
They might do, and we need to think about that fourth car as well, which is Alex Solly in 4th place. Alex, I think, qualified in 6 in this one. Didn't quite get as far as writing down the top 6 positions, but Alex Solly not that far away, and he's in 4th. Andy Dorman up into 5th position, and then following them it's Monroe Renard and Harry Hickton having a good old workout. But yeah, these two, this is one of the scenarios where you get to see it here in the sim or in the esports, and I'd love to see this battle replicated in real life. It's going to be a few years away because obviously Lewis is in Junior Saloons, Thomas is looking to come into Ginetta Junior next year, so we're not going to see them, I don't think, on track against each other for real. But you know, give it 3 or 4 years, this would be an absolute dream scenario to see these two racing around Croft. Maybe we'll see it in the Mini Championship in a few years' time. That would be good. I hope that they'll consider Mini as a big part of their potential moves up the ladder, as Alex Walker has a look at Callum Einstein, who's running well here in 9th place. Alex Walker, the magic 10th position at the moment for the potential reverse grid for race 2.
Yeah, actually, being in 10th position is almost something to consider. I mean, of course, you want to get every point you can get, but the difference between 9th and 10th, if you're in a sort of 9th and 10th battle, you might even be worth thinking about, is it worth dropping back so you can start that 1 place higher on the grid for the reverse, as we see Henry Howarth go down the inside of Monroe Renard, and he gets a bit crossed up there. Yeah, through the complex, it's super, super tight, but moves are possible, but it's always a risk for doing it, as going down the inside there into, yeah, a little bit of contact. Looked like he went a bit quick, but also Monroe wasn't necessarily ready to see him there. So a little bit of contact, but no harm done. They're both out of it in the positions they started. And it looks like the battle's going to continue on for another lap.
There's so many fast drivers called Henry these days, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a common name actually in motorsport. Yeah, hopefully we're all quite quick.
Henry Howarth, certainly. I think I'd say he's ragging it. He's certainly going for it to get in front of Monroe Renard. And he's got to try and hunt down Harry Hictor now in P6. Andy Dorman up into 5th. So just a quick recap. It's Andy Carroll out front for Thomas Potter. Lewis Stannard trying everything he can to try and go through. The best laps at the moment, 1:30.739, is with Lewis Stannard. So he's the fastest driver on track. That's what Lewis was saying in qualifying. That last lap, we saw him catch the traffic, which made him effectively have to abort the lap. But he knew he'd got the pace. And he's got the pace here, but whether he's got the enough pace to be able to deal with Thomas Potter, he's dropped back a little bit away from the teapot at the moment. And Thomas is getting on the case of Andy Carroll. So what was a battle for second is sort of morphing now into a battle for first position. And Thomas, you can see, just focusing on his line there around the hairpin and trying to get as much momentum as he can on the exit. We join him heading down the straight in towards Clervaux for the first time. I'm not sure. I often think about how I would deal with a lot of these tracks and which one would I like the least. I think the least favourite option for me, if I was a race driver, would be the anti-clockwise Knockhill circuit. But equally, a big bunch of cars going into Clervaux for me isn't that appealing, particularly if you're on a reverse grid pole. If you got it through qualifying, that's fine. Thomas is trying to close up. His best lap at 1:30.815. Andy Carroll just 4 thousandths quicker on his best lap, but Thomas is closing up now as they go into Tower. Look how close they get. Well, he can get close, but I'm wondering where the best chance of a move's going to be here, Henry.
Yeah, I reckon Thomas Potter's going to be thinking that himself, and it's all going to be about judging exactly where he's quicker than Andy Carroll. So, of course, it's almost impossible to predict whenever a move might be, but I assure you, as soon as Thomas Potter sees the door open, he's going to definitely go for a move. And I don't know what's happened to Lewis Stannard. I think he must have made a mistake on the previous lap. The lap before that, he was half a second off. So I'm not quite sure why he dropped back, but I think it was quite good for Thomas because it meant he was able to break away and get his head down and not focus in his mirrors. So yeah, now he's full eyes forward, and I think, yeah, as soon as he sees a gap open up, there's going to be some moves happening.
I reckon that's a nice wide entrance into the corner, into that final corner by Thomas Potter. I don't think he'll be able to do that on the next lap, because Lewis Stannard, if he sees that gap, he's going to go for it. And he's definitely closing up Stannard at the moment. So it's Carroll, Potter, Stannard, Alex Solly in 4th place from Andy Dorman and Harry Hicton. And then Henry Howarth up into 7th, as we saw as he went past Monroe Renard, with Callum Winstone running well in 9th. Alex Walker is in 10th position as the race now, where are we timing wise? 18 minutes 51 to go, not even at half distance yet, and the complexion, the places haven't changed, but the complexion of the battling has. And that's always key in this type of racing. Happens in the mini championship for real as well, and it's back to the battle now. He's back to P2, isn't it, Henry?
Yeah, I think Thomas must have closed up and then almost had to drop back because he closed in so quickly. And now, because he's behind Andy Carroll, Lewis Stannard's managed to catch back up again, and the battle's back on. But I think what they've got to try and do at this point, there's 18 minutes left still. So yes, they're almost halfway, but there's still quite a while to go. So I think the important thing is they need to try not to battle too much again, because they don't want to spend this entire race dropping back and then having to catch back up again and then dropping back. I think the smart thing to try and do would be to potentially try and work together as all three of them, because actually what you can see is Alex Sully is closing up behind. So I think the smart thing to do would be to try and work together, all of them, or Lewis Stannard and Thomas Potter, instead of battling like they did before, try and push together to get ahead of Andy Carroll, whatever it is. They need to be smart about it, because yes, you want to make up as many positions as possible, and it's a race, you want to win. But there's a long time left, and you have to finish first to win. So it's about figuring out the right balance between getting stuck in and just settling in and trying to finish off the race in a good position.
One of the things we can't do is throw a safety car, but I'd be tempted if I was a race director looking for a story to be told here, to do that and bring the likes of Henry Howarth into the mix as well. But it's going to be interesting how it pans out. We've got Harry Hicton here trying to close down again on Andy Dorman. So Andy's got past him. Remember, Andy championship leader with 30 kg of ballast on 184 points. At the moment, we will see Lewis Stannard just dip into a championship lead, I think. Hate drop scores. Don't know why we haven't, but anyway, there we go. We do, and we have to work with them as Andy Carroll continues to lead from Thomas Potter. So it's Carroll from Potter, Lewis Stannard. Now, what was it I said on the last lap, that Thomas wasn't going to be able to leave the door open? It looks like he's got sufficient gap at the moment, maybe to go for that nice racing line into the hairpin. We'll watch as he comes down now. And Lewis is close, but is he close enough to have a dip down the inside? He's not. And you can see Thomas going that little bit wider, closes up. He carries a little bit more momentum through the hairpin. Little tag on the back. It was a 3.1 mile per hour. We know that from the data that we're getting from the timing screen. 3.1 mile an hour contact between the two. So just a little nudge between the two. And I'm guessing trophy racing, Henry, is much the same. The odd little tap here and there.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're all meant to be nice and clean, and that is mostly the case for a lot of the time. It's a super great championship in terms of the racing. I mean, so close, and yes, a little nudge happens every now and then, but it's all clean, tight, super exciting racing. And that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest change for me going from Fiesta Juniors to the Mini Challenge, was how much closer it was. Of course, the Fiesta Juniors is an incredible championship, but the Mini Challenge, the thing was, being 6/10 off would put me down in P19, and that's incredible how tight that was. And it showed in the racing as well, and I'm really looking forward to getting back out again. But just every single overtake you have to make has to be super clinical, as we see Thomas Potter making a mistake going into Sunny and getting on the grass. Luckily he didn't lose too much time there. That could have been a big one, but luckily he managed to catch it. That's one of the good things about front-wheel drivers. When you're starting to lose the rear end, get on that throttle and save it, and he managed to do so really well. So he's staying in the fight now, because if Lewis Stannard and Andy Carroll start battling, he can be right back in it again.
He can very much be. And I was wondering whether Lewis was just thinking about this and having a... And look at Lewis Stannard doing the Thomas Potter line now, the very wide line in. And that's all about momentum. I was wondering whether Lewis was maybe... he's a racer, he probably wasn't sitting back, but part of me thinks, yeah, sit back, watch the top two sort each other out. If anything goes pear-shaped, I've got time to get involved and go for a lead, which he did. I'm going to go back to Thomas Potter's move, which he made down the back straight, managed to... He was on the outside as they came out of the hairpin, which teed up the inside as they went side by side on the little curve before they got to Tower Corner, and stuck it out. It was good clean racing from Andy Carroll, giving him room, but ultimately maybe a little bit too much momentum for Thomas, who dropped down to third place and into the clutches of Alex Solly. But now it's Lewis Stannard looking to try and be the second time winner, and getting very, very close indeed to Andy Carroll. So Andy has had lots of pressure to soak up in this one, and Lewis Stannard really putting him under that at the moment, the driver from the VRRC's Junior Saloon Car Championship, and he is running very well in that, running very well in this, as we pick up on Monroe Reynard chasing Henry Howarth. Meanwhile, back to Thomas Potter, still trying to catch up again. He's closing up with Lewis Stannard again. Alex Solly is in fourth place. So Alex trying to get involved as well. And Lewis gets it all sideways, and Alex Solly sees the problems and goes up into third. Lovely move by Alex Solly in the Napa car. Solly up into third. Potential podium place there. The other guys probably need to calm things down a bit. We've seen a little bit of errant machinery. Andy Dorman now not far away from the leaders. Andy Carroll is getting away. Lewis Stannard had a wild moment. So too did Tom Potter, and that's allowed Alex Solly up into third place.
Yeah, exactly. I think Thomas Potter got a little bit close there to Lewis Stannard and stuck a nose down the inside and realised a little too late that he needed to back out, and it just cost him the time there. That's how Alex Solly got through, I think, was that little bit of contact. And that's something that takes a lot of learning to do, is to learn when to go for moves and when not to. And especially in something as close as this, it's very easy to go for a move and having to back out and lose a lot of time there. As we see him going for a move into Tower Bend, that was very late, but he made it stick, I think. And I didn't see much contact there, so that was very clean. But yeah, it's one of the things in motorsport, is the hardest thing to do, is to learn when to go for moves and when to stay back. Because, like I was saying before, especially in something as close as the minis, if you go for a move and you lose time, you could lose a lot of positions. And it's all about trying to have that forwards momentum. So yes, trying to get the pass done is really important. Trying to get ahead, keep moving up positions is really great. But if you go for a move and it goes wrong, it could lose you even more than you could have gained from the beginning.
It was a great move, wasn't it, by Thomas? It was put me in mind a little bit of the move that we had at Oulton Park, which Lewis Stannard, who has now got up into the lead. So Lewis now our leader. Apologies to Lewis Stannard's fans and family for us not picking up on that. But put me in mind of Lewis's move into the hairpin at Oulton Park last week. But Lewis Stannard is now our leader. He won at Snetterton, remember, on his debut, and by sort of was he biding his time earlier? We'll find out in the interviews if he stays where he is. We've got 11:25 on the clock. And it's Lewis out front at the moment from Andy Carroll. Thomas Potter still in third. Alex Solly coming under pressure from Andy Dorman. This is Andy's home track as well. So we've got a few drivers from this neck of the woods enjoying this one. Andy in that fifth position with Harry Hickton trying to join in sixth. Harry third in the championship. So maybe having a little bit of a struggle with the ballast at the moment. Have a quick look down to the 10th place. James Black could be on course for a pole position for the reverse grid race with Callum Einstein alongside him, potentially on the provisional front row for that one. Monroe Reynard and Henry Howarth will be on the second row, so it's going to be key for them. But now I'm wondering, did you see Lewis's move, Henry, while I was looking at my notes, checking ballast and points and things?
I didn't, but looking at the sector times from the previous lap, I reckon Andy Carroll might have made a mistake, because in Sector 2, Lewis Stannard seems to have done a regular Sector 2, so a quick Sector 2 time, which makes me think he didn't go for a move. And Andy Carroll's Sector 2 was a second slower. So did he potentially make a mistake, which was what let Lewis Stannard go through? I didn't quite see. There might have been a move there, could be wrong. But the fact that the sector times showed that Lewis Stannard was still on pace for doing a quick lap made me think that potentially Andy Carroll had made a mistake, which lost him the lead.
I think that sounds about right to me. And they've lost a bit of ground, haven't they, on Lewis Stannard now as well. Lovely overhead shot of them making their way around Hawthorne and on towards our back straight. So it's Lewis Stannard now, who is their best lap 1:30.5. So still the quickest driver as he has been over the course of the race so far. We're into the last third of it as we ride on board with Alex Solly, who wants to get his own back on Thomas Potter. Has a look there, can't quite do it, but he gives him the wide entry here into Tower. That might carry more speed down towards the Jim Clark S's and maybe under the rear spoiler of Thomas Potter's car. Here we come into the S's now. Very definitely notice here of Alex Solly, and Potter might have to go a little bit more defensive here. Certainly been involved in some spills in this race. Thomas in third position, trying to close down on Andy Carroll in P2. And Lewis Stannard looking very comfortable now. Now he's got the lead out front. As I say, just underlying that pace that he's had from the early stages of this race and the confidence that he had as well from qualifying. So Lewis has bided his time. He was third for a lot, picked off that second place with from Thomas earlier on, and then picked off Andy Carroll to take the race lead. And now he can, pretty much place the car where he wants. Such is the gap that he's got at the moment over Andy Carroll and Thomas Potter second and third. Alex Solly fourth. Andy Dorman in fifth place. 8 minutes remaining on the clock. James Black and Callum Einstein have had a little bit of rubbing, and it's James Black ninth, Callum Einstein in 10th place. We keep our eye on that one as Thomas Potter closes up again on Andy Carroll. Thomas is really gunning for it. You can almost hear the home crowd on the bank there cheering him on. I think in real life that would be going on. That if he was racing here. I don't know if he's going to come along to the Ginetta Junior meeting at Croft in, I think it's in September, if memory recalls properly. And certainly be a good opportunity for him to get up into the commentary box and make himself known for next year. As Lewis Stannard continues to lead with 7 minutes 51 on the clock. And the three-way battle now, it was in the early stages for the lead. Pretty much a three-way battle for second position with Andy Dorman back in fifth, and Alex Solly not finished with Thomas Potter yet, is he, Alex? He's still going for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone's trying to look for moves every now and then, but I do think it would be smart if they started focusing a little bit on Lewis Stannard. What I've seen is when they're in clean air and when they're not squabbling, the sector times are just enough that they would be closing in on the lead. So yes, of course, everyone wants to be having these great battles and overtaking each other constantly, but at the point where you've still got 7 minutes left of the race, there's still plenty of time to catch up. I think what could happen is that they might end up closing in, because if we look at the last lap times as well, there was 2/10 that Andy Carroll gained on Lewis Stannard, so it's a little bit every single lap. But of course, they're all racing drivers. They're all a little bit aggressive at the moment, so it's going to be interesting to see if they make a move or if they try and get that lead. It's a tight balance that need to try and manage there. It's like, is the car in front holding you up, or are you going to push with them to try and catch up? So could be some interesting racing coming into the closing stages, or it might kick off at any point. I have no clue, and it's almost impossible to tell.
I have no clue, which is why I commentate, so I can't drive. Well, I can drive badly. We've actually lost Monroe Renaud out of the top 10, which is a pity. He's down in 16th now, and it means that Alex Walker is on provisional pole as we watch the battling here with James Black going through past Callum Einstone and gains a place, relegates himself to third on the provisional grid for race 2. But a lovely move by James Black, and Callum's going to give him a bit of a workout here. He's all over the back of him. And these two, I was about to make the point, you said about drivers working together, and my fellow real world and virtual contact between Einstone and James Black, who goes off into the grass, so that will probably be one for the stewards. I know Luke Caudle's on holiday. I don't know whether Luke is watching this from the comfort of the bar or the pool area, possibly on holiday, and whether he'll be judiciating, is that a word? It is now, tomorrow. I'll come back to the point I was going to make about the fact that drivers never work together. And Andy McEwen always says they don't get the email, do they, about that? And it's a great line that Andy comes out with as we ride with Alex Solly closing up on Thomas Potter. And Alex, for my money, has been slightly the smoother of the two, and this could very well come to him now. Thomas is having to defend, so this is for a podium. Alex Solly 7th in the standings coming in, and this is what Potter did to Andy Carroll earlier on in the race. Tried to get that inside on the left-hand kink. Didn't work really for Alex Solly because Thomas was on the outside of Andy Carroll when he pulled the move off earlier on. Andy Carroll's getting a little bit more back on terms with Lewis Stannard, which is good to see from the race perspective. Maybe not good for Lewis's racing head, but we know he can defend as well as attack. So we probably need to keep an eye on that, as well as the battle for third place. And here comes Solly down the inside on the exit of Sunny, and I'm wondering whether Thomas just was looking in his mirrors there as well. A little mistake from Thomas Potter, and this is allowing Andy Dorman to close in on him. We've seen Thomas reclaim a place once already with a lovely move into Tower, but Alex Solly picked his moment superbly well there and goes up into third. But now Thomas Potter trying the inside. Solly sees him. Thomas is not too aggressive there, doesn't force Solly out onto the exit of the hairpin. So good clean stuff from the pair of them. And Solly's got to be a little bit defensive going down to Clervaux here.
Yeah, Thomas has managed to get a run on him, but I think Alex Solly might just be safe for the moment. Oh, my words were wrong there. He's managed to get through, but through the chicane going side by side might be a bit tough. Is anyone going to back out? Thomas manages to back out, so he's going to go and try and go for the run up into Tower. I think the main thing is they've now kind of realised that the cars ahead of them have just gone, and they're just completely focused on each other now. And as Thomas Potter tries to go around the outside there, I don't think that will quite work. And he does get shown the edge of the track slightly, but clean racing so far, and hopefully they can stay that way. But now the cars behind are getting involved as well, and that is the problem when you start battling this hard, is that you will start to lose a bit of time. As you can see, the cars behind Harry Hickton and Andy Dorman are right on the back of them. As Harry Hickton, did he make a mistake there?
Yeah, Hickton has a big drift. Thomas is off. I think it was a little bit of reaction with each other there going on. Possibly a little bit of a rub that kicked that off as well. Lewis Stannard is still out front from Andy Carroll. And then Alex Solly now in a safe third position. Andy Dorman, that's a massive drift, wasn't it, from Alex Solly. Held onto it really, really well indeed, and holds on to third place from Andy Dorman. Harry Hickton next up. Thomas Potter down to 6. Good job we got the shout for his granddad in the qualifying podium. There is Thomas in 6th place. Got to try and hunt down Harry Hickton here. All part of the learning experience for Thomas. But Lewis Stannard 2 minutes 28 on the clock. So the leaders have just gone through. So this is the penultimate lap by my reckoning. And Andy Carroll keeping Lewis Stannard honest here at the moment. Just trying to work out whether we've seen Andy and Lewis in close proximity in the racing so far. I don't think we have in this series. This is sort of first time territory for them. Lewis has responded, I think, a little bit and gets away again through into Tower. He's opened up a little bit more of a gap over Andy Carroll. And remember, Andy for championship. This is all absolutely key. They'd love the win, but more important, I think, at this stage, Henry, are the points that they're going to get from first and second and carrying consistent high points into the remainder of the campaign.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, every driver is going to be going for the win, but in the back of their mind, they're going to have that sensible voice, which is talking about the championship. And yeah, I do think Lewis has just managed to sort of pull out a little bit more pace there, although Andy Carroll is still closing in a little bit. But yeah, it's just whether it's going to be enough, because there's only, I'd say, a lap left if there's a minute and 20 left. So it's going to be very tight. And as I say that, Andy Carroll is now right on the back of him. So this could make for a very exciting last lap.
It is, you know, a typical race. As I said, I was here at Croft for real a weekend and a week and a half ago, and you know, watched drivers, particularly in the endurance racing, who would know that they had time to spend a couple of laps just putting a bit of pressure on, trying to work out where the driver in front might have had a little bit of weakness and then make the move. But of course, Andy Carroll doesn't have the luxury of any more laps, because this is do or die on the last one. We hope that he doesn't do the latter. I'm sure he won't. Drops back a little bit. Lewis Stannard responding to the pressure again and looking to become our first double winner. And remember, he wasn't at the Donington Park round, Stannard, so this is going to be another remarkable result from this very impressive youngster against Andy Carroll, who's had a super run in P2 as well. Back in third is Alex Solly, on for another potential podium, Alex Solly. And then a gap back to Andy Dorman, who's done very well indeed to come up to fourth. Quick look back, Henry Howarth made it up into seventh. So at the moment, provisional pole is actually with James Black again, who's recovered for, he's in 10th place. Alex Walker has climbed up into 9th, Callum Einstone in 8th. Could be our front runners for that. But the time is out, and the race leaders coming into the complex for the last time, and it's Lewis Stannard out front from Andy Carroll. It's not going to be a challenge here from Andy. Tries to close up, but he's too far back. So it's going to be Lewis Stannard to take the win here at Croft and become our first double winner. Second position goes to Andy Carroll. So double interviews for those guys as well. In this one, congratulations, Lewis. Well done to Andy. And we say well done to Alex Solly as well on getting third place. So it's Alex Solly in third. Fourth goes to Andy Dorman from Harry Hickton. Thomas Potter in seventh. Callum Einstone gets a seventh place. Best finish by some 5 places on his previous result, Callum Einstone. Very well done to him as well. Henry Howarth in 8th place from Alex Walker, and James Black, who will finish in 10th position. Not quite there yet, as they go down and across the line to seal the positions for our second race. And 11th goes to Kenny Press, another good result from Kenny. Jack McCall up into 12th place. Just having a quick look, Jack equals his best. Best was 12th in the opening race at Donington Park, so an impressive run from Jack McCall. Then it was Chris McKenzie, who did well to come up from the back of the grid into 13th from Paul Laramie. Lee Piercy kept going and recovered for 15th from Kevin Yap, Will Crooks. Then Will Yap, Murray Richardson and Monroe Renard, I think, maybe had some server issues. And he's looking to put pressure on Murray Richardson as they go down across the line. Monroe Renard, rather, in 20th place. That wraps up our finishers. We'll be back with the podium interviews in just a couple of minutes. So we're at the podium, and our top real world mini driver was Alex Solly. Alex, well done on third place. Was that a difficult one?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, we just got into quite a good rhythm. Yeah, it's quite happy just to sit behind the boys really. Got into quite a nice flow and then just picked our moment and got through.
And Thomas was sort of gunning, wasn't it? And there did seem to be, you had a massive drift. I think it was sunny out, and Thomas did as well. And I wonder whether it was a reactionary thing between the three drivers or not.
Yeah, I think I went in a bit too hot, got a lock up, and then he just dropped a wheel off from the exit curb. So unfortunate for him, but yeah, we just kept our cool and cracked on with the race and let the carnage unfold behind.
I think this is we did a qualifying podium interview with you last time at Oulton Park. I can't remember whether we've done a race podium and there were penalties involved or not with you, but it's great to get the chance to have a chat with you. And are you enjoying the series? I mean, obviously the Real World Championship doesn't kick off again for a week and a bit. Is that going to make things difficult in the week build up, or will you take it as a good bit of practice?
Yeah, obviously our next round in JCW is Croft, so there's been a lot of practice on here ready for that weekend in specific. So I think if this is anything to go by, it could look up to a good race weekend in the real world. But yeah, like you said, yeah, to answer your question, this is the first race podium, so hopefully this is quite a good flow of things to start. We've been quite unlucky so far in this series, getting taken out or being in the wrong place, wrong time, just getting collected really. But no, I think if this is a race to go off, then it could be a bit fun now.
That's good. How does it compare, driving a simulation as opposed to real world? Have you done a test yet in the JCW at Croft?
Not yet. One soon. But these models are slightly different in terms of how they handle, but
Okay.
they're good fun as a sim car. They make the racing a bit closer. You need a bit more consistency to be able to drive it, which is what we've struggled with so far. But yeah, looking forward to getting back in the real world. It's a bit different. Hopefully won't have to relearn too much.
Yeah, fingers crossed that's the case. It's a shame for me. The last round here and in the real world was Oulton Park, and a shame that you only have 2 races. I know it's timetabling and everything else, but I much prefer mini weekends when there are 3 races because it gives us a lot more to get our teeth into.
Yeah, the 3 race weekends I got used to in the Coopers, so it's a bit gutting to get 2 races back. I mean, in the Sims it's fine, but real life, especially when you have 1 race on 1 day, you don't get that build up of adrenaline, and you tend to struggle with that sometimes. You're waiting around all day just to do a 20-minute race, and sometimes that's when mistakes happen. So unfortunately our last time out at Oulton was a bit of a long wait for not much really. But yeah, hopefully the next half of the season in both this and real world is a lot better.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that. Yeah, the Croft one's going to be a bit weird. I saw looking at the timetable today, I think like Legends have got 3 races, but they only have short races, don't they? But they've got 6 over the weekend. You guys have got 2. I think Carrera Cup. I can't remember if it's Carrera Cup or Cayman's with us, but obviously the 3 touring car races as well. So it's a good weekend. I just hope the weather's going to get back to normal and a little bit of sunshine up there.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah. Good to catch up with you, Alex. Well done on the podium. Great to have you up on the podium with us, and good to see Napa and a real world mini driver joining the sim drivers up there. So well done, mate.
Thank you very much.
Alex Solly taking 3rd position, and a man who led for much of that race, and we did chat with him after qualifying. It's Andy Carroll. Andy, that was a tough one.
It was a tough one, yeah. Trying to keep first Tom behind, and then I was sort of trying to back him up a little bit into Lewis so that they would start battling. But yeah, that was tough, and then there's just that sort of one mistake, too much curb, and it sort of half flipped me, and Lewis managed to get through, and just trying to put pressure on him. Then I think he had a almost similar incident on the penultimate lap where I got pretty close to him, but didn't have enough just to throw one down the inside. So well done to Lewis, and it was all in all a really tough but fun and enjoyable race.
That's good. And it looked like we were going to get a first double winner somewhere along the line. Obviously, you won the second race at Donington. We had... Oh, we hadn't had Thomas Potter have a win yet. So, yeah, Thomas was quite keen. Very fair racing, I noticed in that, where Thomas got you on the left-hand kink on the way up towards Tower, and you do give each other room, and you gave him the room around Tower, which managed to get his nose in front, but then he carried a bit too much momentum.
Yeah, I think he just kind of went a little bit wide and kind of got out on the outside and probably compromised his braking a bit there. But yeah, I think it's important. I think to have good racing, hard racing, but yeah, fair racing at the end of the day. And yeah, there's no point trying to chop the noses of everyone. So it's one of those, you don't want it done to yourself, so you shouldn't really be doing it to anyone else. So
exactly. Thoughts on reverse? Obviously, position 9. So
turn 1, 2, and 3 is going to be those tyres as it turns that chicane in turn 3. Those tyres are. Yeah, there's not a lot of room in there, so I got a bit of, I think, door-to-door on the first lap, so I had to sort of go down the escape road. So at least that's there. At least there's a gap, but trying to get too wide through there is optimistic. 3 wide, it's got no chance. So
and the reverse,
yeah, we'll see. Just try and keep our nose clean for as long as possible.
Nice one, Andy. Well done on P2, and good luck for race 2.
Cheers.
So that was Andy Carroll, and our winner is Lewis Stannard. Well done, Lewis. I was wondering whether when you were in 3rd place and like Thomas and Andy were going for it, whether there was an element that you might be just taking stock, and you're doing that as you're racing, though, I guess, most of the way through.
Yeah, that was a bit of an interesting one. I mean, for the first few laps, when I was behind Thomas and we were both fighting for the lead, he just everywhere. He was just defending, so I was just like, I would have worked with him, but I don't think he really wanted to. So just sat behind him. We were catching Andy for a while, and then obviously he made that mistake when he was side by side with him, which gave me the place, which is always a lovely sight. And then when I was behind Andy, I don't know how many people there were behind us. There was loads of people behind us, so I was just not really making moves, but I wasn't necessarily working with him. We'd kind of just staying where we were. So after that, after a few laps, he made the mistake, gave me the lead, and then after that, it's literally just staying off the track, don't get track limits, just stay alive, really.
That was good, and well done on being our first double winner for this campaign. And I made the comment during the race that that was as well as the fact that you missed Donington, so you've become a double winner in less rounds than everybody else. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not a bad stats up, is it?
No, that's right. And now loads of work to do from the back. I'm not going to ask you about tactics because you're going to do what you're going to do. Maybe we can discuss it afterwards if we can get you up onto the podium. I've only got 1:20 to go, so apologies for it being a short one. But good luck for race 2, Lewis, and very well done on taking the second win in the campaign and
Thank
fastest
you.
lap as well. Cheers, Lewis. Well done. I think so. Yeah, I think Lewis got fastest lap as well. Certainly, as I was trying to watch it going through. So well done, mate.
Points, yay.
Oh yeah, extra points for fastest lap. Well remembered. So thanks to Lewis Stannard, our race winner, Andy Carroll in P2, Alex Solly in 3rd place, completing our podium. We're getting ready for race 2. We've got just under a minute to go before the top 10 reverse, which sees James Black and Alex Walker on the front row of the grid with Henry Howarth and Callum Einstone alongside. You see Callum in the green car. Really good to see Callum up at the sharp end. Well done to him on the super result that he had in race number 1. Henry Howarth put himself in the mix here well and truly. I think you'd probably be brave to bet against Henry on the form we saw last time out at Oulton Park of getting a podium in this one. We'll see what happens, but equally you can't discount Alex Walker or James Black in that front group as well. Thomas Potter lines up down behind them, so he's quite handily placed as well. What I'm saying is it's very, very competitive, and it's all about to get underway because the lighting sequence is on screen. How long are we going to keep them waiting for? Well, not too much longer because the illuminations are complete. longish way, out go the lights. James Black, I think everyone getting away well. Callum Einstein already green, looking down towards the inside as they go down to Clervo. This is where we need to hang on to our Stetsons as they go into Clervo in the reverse grid race. Are we going to have drivers here looking to make up as many places as possible? Turn 1 seems okay. Hawthorns, is that going to be okay as well? Better than a lot of real world racing that I've seen. This is what Andy Carroll was worried about. We do have a driver straight lining the chicane, but do you know what? I think, Henry Foot, that was a pretty good turns 1, 2 and 3 for me.
Yeah, I'd say considering it's a reverse grid, that was pretty clean. As we've seen, oh no, Callum just going off of going into Tower Bend there.
Yep.
I think he might have had a nudge from behind, but that was really annoying for him considering how high he was up in the order. But it looks like he has strong pace from the race 1, so we'll see how he can end up. But yeah, from what I can see, that was mostly really clean, and especially with lots of cars going side by side through the really tight first few corners, it was pretty impressive to see. As was that a moment there, or was there contact? Oh, there's definitely contact there, and that's a shame to see because up until then, that was a really clean first lap.
Yeah, shame to see Callum go out. As you said, he did an absolutely mega job in that first race. Best result by 5 places by my reckoning from the results that I've got. So super stuff, Callum, and take that with you into the next round. We're at Silverstone next time out, which I'm looking forward to. But we've got this evening to get sorted out first. Thomas Potter's in 5th. Harry Hickton is in 4th place as they exit the hairpin. And our race leader is James Black from Henry House. Again, another mouth-watering battle between these two. How often do you get to see James and Henry racing it out? Absolutely mega job, with Alex Walker doing a good job in 3rd place at the moment, holding his own as well at the front as Thomas Potter tries to chase down Harry Hickton. Lewis Stannard and Alex Solly have had a little coming together. A little bit of rubbing, I think, that is probably the case there. Lewis in 8th place, Alex Solly in 7th at the moment. Great to have Alex up on the podium as well. And the fact we're getting new names on the podium, again, just underlines how competitive this series is as Harry Hickton throws the car down the inside of Thomas Potter. That was a move.
That was incredible there. He had a full slide on, but he managed to stick it through and get the switchback in the end. So very good from Thomas Potter to give him the room because he almost came out of nowhere, but that was a incredible move, and they kept it clean, so that's very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely superb stuff from the pair of them. Thomas has got to fight back. These two, of course, scored well in race number 1. Still James Black out front from Henry Howarth, expecting a battle to develop as we look back from Alex Walker. Harry Hickton is hungry to continue with the H's and alliterate as much as we can. Hungry to get another position. Here's the run. Is he going to look down the inside as they go into the hairpin? Harry Hickton hungry at the hairpin. There we go. Nice alliteration there. Thomas Potter goes back through. So Thomas dives down the inside and Hickton has got all the work to do again. There's a little touch on the back end of Thomas's car as Hickton tries to defend that inside and keep the inside run. But Thomas Potter's got the move complete and will now chase Alex Walker, who is there with the red mirrors. So Alex in 3rd place. Henry House trying to close in on James Black out front. And really good start to our 2nd race here. Quick check on Lewis Stannard is up to 8th place. Alex Solly is in 7th. Andy Dorman in 6th. So front runners from the previous race, I think doing the biding their time bit and thinking maybe about just getting to the finish and getting points as we ride in car with Harry Hickton. So Harry 2nd, 3rd. Well, James Black, everyone driving on occasion as well, the race leader from Henry Howarth, who is in our JCW Sport class this year. And Harry and Thomas, you heard very, very interesting Lewis Stannard's comment that Thomas didn't appear to want to work with him. He just wanted to race him, and had they worked together, they might have been able to close down. It didn't really matter at the end of the day for Lewis Stannard because he got the win, but it would have made life a little bit easier for maybe in terms of catching the race leader at that stage, as Thomas is now going at Alex Walker and challenging for 3rd place. Have to come back to analysis because we've got a good scrap on for 3rd place at the moment. Well, no, it isn't. It's 4th again because Harry Hickton's got himself back on the rear boot lid of Thomas Potter again.
Yeah, they can't leave each other alone here. Every single time they make a little bit of progress and then they're right back at each other. And I think what we've seen is Thomas Potter really loves that last hairpin for an overtaking move. And the great thing about that is lots of people do leave it open because everyone's scared to take that tight line because you want to get the run down the back straight, down the main straight. And if you don't take that wide entry into a tight line, it can mean that you can often get that bad run. So by leaving that entry open, Thomas Potter's been taking advantage of it. The only problem with that is when the move doesn't stick, you can see now Harry Hickton's right on him because Harry was able to take that wider line and get that run to be right on his bumper again. So yes, people leave it open, but it is a risky overtaking opportunity if you don't make the move because you do lose a load of momentum from it. But this scrap is going to get very exciting now that all three of them are together, and Thomas Potter has got a very good run going into the complex.
Yeah, Thomas having a good look here. It's going to be the outside run as they come into the complex, but if he can hang on, it'll be the inside for the first part. He's got it. He's going to make the move here, but Harry Hickton has got the line now as they head through the little elbow and down into the hairpin again. Hard on the brakes. I beg pardon, it wasn't Harry Hickton, was it? It was Alex Walker in third place was the battle. Harry Hickton did go up the inside of Thomas Potter. Nothing doing there. Andy Dorman coming up to play as well. So Andy Dorman's scoring well. The championship leader, possibly not the championship leader anymore after Lewis Stannard's win, but certainly Andy won't be too far away points-wise, and he is in the box seat to get a decent points haul in this one. And again, Chris McKenzie, who was up in the top 10, has a bit of contact, I think, and drops to 12th. But this is, oh no, back up to 11th ahead of Will Yap goes Chris McKenzie, who's having another good run, carrying his real-world success momentum from the weekend, as Henry Howes tries to close in on Jane. Look at the gap that these two have got. They don't need to work with each other at the moment. They can just get stuck in and have a fight, or at least they would if Henry Howes could close in as Thomas Potter challenges for third in the background. And it's Alex Walker doing a mega job at the moment of holding on to that third place. And a lot of pressure here for Alex Walker. Thomas Potter right behind him. Harry Hickton in the mix as well. Then Alex Solly and Andy Dorman. And Alex Walker. Oh, there's contact there. Harry Hickton on the back end of Thomas Potter. And that doesn't play out well for Hickton, who ends up off the track. And Alex Walker, I think, caught out as a result of that. Thomas Potter up to third.
Yeah, it's just the concertina effect going into Sunny Inn just caught Harry Hickton out, I think. He went for his normal braking position, and the cars in front had just slowed down more than he expected. It's very unlucky, but at the same time, it's something you've got to be really careful of, because when there's a big pack like that going into some of these slower corners, it can concertina up a lot, and it can catch you out. As we see there, it did catch him out, unfortunately. But yeah, I reckon the top two are loving this because they've pulled a massive gap now from all this squabbling behind, and they've just got to not really worry about behind for the rest of the race now.
No, we've got a long way to go. We've still got 20 minutes. So, you know, if that gap's developed in 10, I guess it could be negated in 20. We'll see whether that does pan out. But Thomas Potter now in a relatively comfortable third place at the moment. Alex Solly is fourth. Fifth position, after all the shenanigans, is Lewis Stannard from 10th on the grid. So, again, Lewis is racecraft here, and his approach to the race working well. He's come up from 10th place into 5th with Andy Carroll behind him as well. So Andy doing some good race thinking too. Andy is in 6th place. Andy Dorman 7th from Alex Walker, who I'm pleased to say is still there. He weren't not as pleased as we would have been if he'd got a podium, but he's in 8th place from Lee Pearcey, who's had a great recovery here. Lee Pearcey up into the top 10 after a disappointing race one, but good to see his recognising or realising his potential. This one in 9th. Harry Hickton in 10th from Will Yap, Chris McKenzie, Jack McCall 12th, 13th, beg your pardon, for Paul Laramie, Kevin Yap, Will Crooks, Callum Einstone, Will Clark, Murray Richardson, Monroe Renard. Kenny Press is, I think, out of this one, which is a pity, as James Black and Henry Howth continue to lead. As we look at Andy Dorman, who might hold a few cards here, Andy's chasing one of his long-term virtual reality racing club's fighting partners, Andy Carroll, immediately in front, and Lewis Stannard in 5th, trying to close down on Alex Solly. Plenty of time for them to do it. Quick look at best laps, 130.9, 130.7. I think the quickest at the moment is Thomas Potter. So Thomas on his virtual home circuit. He's done a fair bit of practicing. Both he and Lewis Stannard were quickest on the times that I dipped into to look at the practice laps over the course of the week. Probably time to start thinking about the driver of the round, as we're very nearly halfway through the second race, so the usual suspects can ping something into our mini challenge chat that we have on Discord. So Henry, if you want to think about driver of the round as well, it's going to be a difficult one, I think, today. It might be someone that's recovered, it might be someone who does well. Last weekend it was last time it was Harry Hickton. We had 3 different drivers of the round. We had James Black for our first round, Lewis Stannard round 2, Harry Hickton round 3. Always very difficult to pick out a driver of the round in these ones, as we continue to watch Andy Dorman trying to close down on Andy Carroll. Andy in turn not too far behind Lewis Stannard, who is closed up now on Alex Solly. So Alex Solly in the Napa car podium finishing round or race number 1 of the evening, and soaking up a little bit of pressure here from Lewis Stannard, who you heard has raced this circuit for real. Lee Piercy and Alex Walker having a little bit of a rub by all accounts, a little bit further back. That is for 8th and 9th position at the moment, as we ride with Lewis Stannard now going out through Hawthorns and down towards the chicane we go once again. Quick flick back at our locked off camera position on the pit wall as we go back to the action coming up towards Tower. So Black and Howarth still out front and leading this one. Rich Hayden's just asked me the question about driver of the round nominations as well, so thinking caps on everybody. Difficult one at the moment, pretty close between many drivers here. Might have to go for a recovery drive unless we're going to see a double podium or something like that, but that remains to be seen. Lewis Stannard in 5th, Alex Solly is in 4th place. Alex has put himself down as a potential for driver of the round, getting a maiden VRRC podium last time out, and read the race well. But then you could say the same of Lewis Stannard out front. James Black though still our leader. There is Andy Carroll running well. Andy having qualified P2, had that podium in the race as well with a fair amount of ballast on, so Andy Carroll could be a potential for driver of the round as well. So several drivers to think about. We'll make the decision before we get to the end of the evening. Very nearly at the halfway point of our second race of the evening in Mini Challenge UK Virtual Reality Racing Club Series, and this takes us past the halfway point of the campaign. Remaining rounds at Silverstone National next time out. Thruxton, the home of the VRRC, looking forward to that one, and Brands Hatch GP to wrap things up mid-August. But still plenty to play for in our remaining 3 events. You do have to complete, you don't have to compete, but you can't drop the Brands Hatch last round of the championship, which is a little bit like some of the clubs do. Club racing, it kind of encourages people to turn up for the last round. I don't think we'd have any problems encouraging people to do that. A little bit of a wide moment from Thomas Potter. A few drivers, maybe the tyres are starting to go off. I didn't look actually, Henry. Sorry, I'm not letting you get much of a say here. But everybody went out on the medium tyre. But I'm guessing at this stage of the race, it's going to be fatigue as much as anything for the drivers. This is not an inconsequential ask, is it? 2.5 hours of sim racing.
Yeah, people can be surprised how sim racing can actually take a lot out of you. Of course, it's not quite the same as being in the real car with the heat and the movement around being thrown around in your seat, but with your wheel giving you force feedback and everything, it can get quite a lot, and you can get quite warm, and it can take a lot out of you, especially with having to put out almost a perfect lap every single time. So I think, yeah, for a few drivers, they will be starting to potentially have a lapse in concentration, especially when the racing might get a little bit more sedate and a little bit more just lap after lap instead of pure battling, which keeps your adrenaline high. But most drivers are doing an incredible job at the moment, and one of the things I've noticed is Thomas Potter has closed that gap right down to Henry Howard, who's not quite there, but it's gone from around 3 seconds to just over a second, so that could be something interesting. We've still got 15 minutes left, so just crossing the halfway point, as you said, but there could be some interesting battles still to come.
Yeah, there are. One of those interesting battles is the Harry Hickton Alex Walker one we were looking at for 9th and 10th place. So Steve, our director, giving us a good look at that and showing those two recovering well as we go back to Lewis Stannard in 5th place, trying to close down on Alex Solly. Here we are again with Harry Hickton this was a battle for the podium earlier on, but now it's for 10th place. And Hickton manages to get the move, goes past Alex Walker. I really feel for Alex in this one because he was doing a super job and maintaining a very good stance in that 3rd place. But he can take that. He can take the work that he did and build on that for the future. As James Black continues to lead. James Black, of course, won race 2 last time out at Oulton Park. So if he can get a decent qualifying and a decent run in one of the first races, then he could well put himself further up in the He's 6th in the championship, James Black. So I very nearly underestimated him on what he's doing, but 6th in the championship, and he's running with 15 kgs of ballast as well. So he's right in the mix points wise with Lee Pearcey and Alex Solly. Thomas Potter back in 8th place on the standings at the moment. So Thomas will probably climb a little bit further up as he drops that Oulton Park score further behind. But yeah, James Black doing a grand job at the front at the moment. Howarth and Potter could be the next battle to look out for. Things relatively settled in the 4th to 7th places at the moment. Lee Pearcey in 8th has had a very good recovery as well. Lee Pearcey, a driver, if we've got regular mini viewers now that haven't watched too much VRRC stuff, you can expect to see Lee Pearcey normally as a consistent front runner. He did win the 2nd race at Snetterton and very well capable of being. He's just not had the rub of the green so far in all of the mini races. As Tom closes up now on Henry Howarth, I would have expected Henry to be closer to James Black in this one. Both extremely capable drivers and entertaining drivers as well. But Henry and Thomas here have, I think, got to have a battle and a sort out. Henry Howarth won't be an easy driver to pass, although Thomas might think that he's got a little bit more knowledge of this track. It'd be great to have a catch up with James Black and Henry afterwards if the podium stays like this, with Alex Solly in P4. Very consistent Alex Solly. Expect him to move up from 7th in the championship after the 2 races that he has had. I'm wondering here where the move is going to come, and it's down into Tower as Thomas Potter goes down, and on the inside, wasn't quite the drift that we saw, was it, from was it Harry Hickton earlier on that did the drift? I think it was Henry, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That was a slightly more tidy move from Thomas Potter, but still just as effective. It seems as he got closer to Henry Howarth, then he properly switched on the pace. He did 30.6 that last lap, which was 4/10 quicker than the leader still. So, there's a bit of contact there. Henry Howarth went slightly into the back of Thomas Potter, so letting him back through actually there, I think that was the right thing to do. I do think Thomas Potter, if he can close in, he does have the pace to catch up to James Black, but that incident there might have just made it slightly too big to close up in the last few laps. But if he can do what he did the lap before, where he did that 30.6, he might be able to, because if he can close 4/10 lap, that will be able to close down that 2 seconds very quickly. So I'd say keep an eye out on Thomas Potter. He's got the pace at the moment to be closing in a lot on the lead from James Black, but you never know, James Black might start to respond. So there's definitely a battle that could be coming up there.
Yeah, lovely to see Henry Howarth after that contact give the place back. That was a smart move by Henry. So well done for doing that. I'm wondering if the virtual Jam Sport team have got lots of virtual front bumpers or front kit. I'm only joking, Henry, by the way. But he had a couple of judicials, as have many of the other drivers. To be absolutely fair, I know Henry can take the stick when we dish it out. So James Black, Thomas Potter, Henry Howarth, Alex Solly in 4th place, trying to close in on the pair of those as well, as is Lewis Stannard, and down behind them it's Andy Carroll, Andy Dorman. Lee Pearcey in 8th. So Lee Pearcey a little bit, it's not that far away actually, Lee Pearcey. This is again where you could use the safety car, isn't it, to close everybody up and give us a grandstand finish. But James Black and Thomas Potter probably wouldn't. Thomas Potter would thank us for that. James Black wouldn't out front. And James Black goes through shot with still a very good healthy lead. James lapping in the 1 minute 30.9's his best lap. Fairly consistent. Last lap was 1:39.47. James Black really focusing on his driving around here with 10 minutes to go. Thomas Potter would love to get a win, and this is one of those cases where if Thomas was to win this reverse grid race, it wouldn't be because of an overly generous starting position in the reverse, because he qualified well, remember, with pole position. But he's working hard. As we watch the overhead view of Lewis Stannard in white and red, chasing the predominantly yellow and blue Napa car of Alex Solly in P4. And then a little bit further back from them is Andy Carroll in 6th position, trying to close in. But Lewis Stannard just exploring the lines that he wants to try and close up now. But things relatively settled at the moment, Henry, which is good news.
Yeah, it's a lot calmer than the first race at the moment, but looking at that gap between the top two, Thomas Potter just closed in half a second on that last lap, and as I said, it could become very interesting soon. So it was a 30.5 from Thomas Potter last lap, which I think was the quickest of the race so far, so you can tell he's really pushing hard. But also from Henry Howarth downwards, that pack is starting to close up a little bit as well now, so I think Henry Howarth could also cling on to Thomas Potter, and if James Black and Thomas Potter start fighting, that could be something there. But I think we could soon separate into a lead pack of 2 and then the pack behind. We'll see. But there's definitely some interesting battles that are going to be coming along near the end of this race, and especially as the time ticks down, the drivers will be getting a little bit more desperate to make some of these moves, and that's when we'll start seeing some of that action.
I think we will. And the one thing we know about Thomas is that he won't hang about to have a go. It's not going to be close up and then try and suss out what the lead is doing. He will go straight on the offensive to try and get into the lead with James Black. And again, I'm trying to recall whether we've had a Potter stroke James Black dice that I can recall out front in these races. I'm not sure we have. So, you know, Thomas looking to break new ground by closing in. Henry Howarth is, I think, being reeled in by Alex Solly at the moment. I say reeled in, he's being caught. Albeit somewhat incrementally, by Alex Solly in 4th position. So good, strong meeting here for Alex Solly. It's interesting comments coming through on the Discord chat about judicials, which is very interesting, and that they always are. I mean, this is taken very seriously, this racing, and I've got to say, everybody's taken the medicine from judicials extremely well and have been a real credit to themselves. Not with causing the issues in the first place, but the way everyone's dealt with them. You know, I haven't seen anyone sulk off, which is great. So well done, everybody, for dealing with that and listening to Luke and Rich Hayden, Luke Hordle and Rich Hayden at the judicial briefing. So really good sports for taking that. As now Alex Solly has definitely closed in, and it's a battle for 3rd. And it's a 3, maybe 4-way battle, because we've got Andy Carroll at the back of this as well. And Solly goes for the outside run. He's got to be careful, though, because Lewis Stannard coming up as well. There's a little bit of contact between the pair of them. Stannard on the inside. Alex Solly had to make the move there because he's got Lewis Stannard all over him. It's the fight for 3rd place, which is now really burst into life. But the fact that there was contact between the 4th and 5th place cars just gives Henry Howarth a bit of a breather for, I don't know how long. Is it going to be half a lap or so? I think Alex Solly is the man on. There we come through Hawthorns, through the chicane they go. And, well, I said that Henry Howarth had a little bit of a breathing space, but that's negated again because Alex Solly very quickly back on the case and tries the outside run at Tower. He's got to be so careful to slot back in and get defensive again. The good news for Alex Solly is that Andy Carroll is all over the back of Lewis Stannard as well. So Lewis Stannard under a bit of pressure, and it's Andy Carroll making the move on Stannard. They're side by side. Job to know where to look at the moment. He can't quite go through. Meanwhile, you can see 2 distinct pairs now. The battle for 3rd between Solly and Howarth. And, well, Andy Carroll just makes a little mistake and drops back a bit. This means that Lewis Stannard can try and close down on Henry Howarth again. So Henry under pressure now from Alex Solly. I beg your pardon. Alex Solly closing in on Howarth, and you can see Henry Howarth going defensive into the hairpin, not leaving. Yeah, really good stuff there from Henry Howarth. Good defensive move from Henry, but under big pressure, and of course this will slow them up and potentially allow Lewis Stannard in 5th to close up. And you can see him in the mirrors as the run down the outside into Clervaux is made by Alex Solly. Can he go around the outside? No, he can't. But this is bringing Stannard back into the mix here, Henry.
Yeah, exactly that. I think Solly is going to be very desperate to make the move now because it seems like he does have the overwhelming pace. And if he can get through, it will really help him build a gap to Lewis Stannard behind, because it looks like Stannard and Solly look to be similarly matched in pace. But at the moment, if Solly can get this move done, it will allow him to have a little bit of a breakaway, a little bit of time to have a bit of a breather. And you can see he's all over the back of Henry Howard. He's got some really great pace at the moment, but Henry's defending incredibly well. And sometimes Croft can be a really difficult track to overtake at, especially with all of these high-speed corners. So if Solly can get a nose down somewhere or just create an opening by just piling on the pressure, that's one of the best things he can do, because he is starting to get that pressure from behind now, and you don't want to be looking in your mirrors when you're trying to attack the person in front, because it can really distract you. So yeah, he's got to try and keep his eyes forward, try and find an opening, but Henry Howarth has got a very, very solid defence at the moment, which seems like it's going to be very difficult to slip past.
It's great. We've seen a lot of attacking drives from Henry Howarth over the last couple of rounds, which have been great to see, but also good to see him defending. And he gets a massive punt under braking into the hairpin, and that dishevels him. And Alex Solly goes through. That could be a judicial for Alex Solly. Alex goes through. It's James Black still out front. Black and Potter. You can call a kettle black, can't you? Or the pot calling the kettle black. That's the battle we've got out front, mixing metaphors up. So Potter and Black getting very much closer. Henry Howarth does recover for that third, so it's all sorted out. All is fair again, and Solly will have to have another go, but it is always going to get a little bit fraught, isn't it, when you're dicing over key positions?
Yeah, exactly. I think Solly just got a little bit caught out, and from what I can see, it looked like Solly gave the position back, because down the straight, he backed off, gave a little flash of his headlights when Henry Howarth went through, which is the right thing to do, because he did make a mistake there. I don't think he did it intentionally at all, because it looked like he just was shocked by how early Henry Howarth braked. So now they're back into their positions. It hasn't really hindered them at all, because the gap ahead is so big. So it was a very smart move to make, and a very nice thing to see, to give that position back, especially when it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it kind of equals out, doesn't it? Because we saw Henry have a bit of contact earlier on, and he gave the position back, and now we've seen Alex Solly do it. So fair play. Again, we can't say what the judges of fact, stroke clerks of the course, are going to say as we continue to watch Alex Solly challenging for third place. And look, looming large in the mirrors is Lewis Stannard, who's really putting the pressure on, as well as Andy Carroll right in the mix as well. And Stannard finally makes the move through on the inside. Beautifully timed manoeuvre there from Lewis Stannard, who's up into fourth. And apart from the fact he's got the challenge from Alex Solly, who wants the position back, can now maybe set about Henry Howarth, but Solly passed there. But you can see straight back on the re-offensive with Andy Carroll and Andy Dorman right in the mix as well, with Lee Pearcey on the back of this group now. Look at that. Great big train of cars, all with the shout of a podium here, apart from the fact we've only got 2 minutes to go, Henry.
Yes, an incredible defence from Henry Howarth at the moment, almost acting like a rolling roadblock, as we see Alex Solly go through, almost. Not quite. He didn't quite have the right overlap for that, and it just meant he had to just back out at the last minute. He does seem to have the most pace out of the train, though, at the moment. But yeah, I think Henry Howarth's defence just seems to be impenetrable at the moment, and it's building up a nice pack, which is going to have some lovely battles near the end of this race. And there's only a minute and a half left, so yeah, there's not long to sort out these positions, and Henry Howarth now actually does have a slight gap. So is that going to be enough to keep him in position for the next few laps? I mean, well, mainly the last lap after this one. But yeah, we'll see, because it's starting to build up behind. So there's going to be a lot of pressure. But the good thing is, with a train, it's better to have multiple cars behind you than one, because it means the car behind you also has to look behind them, which can make it very interesting, especially when it's as close as this.
It's very close indeed, and the race leaders have gone on to the last lap. They are down at Clervaux. We're still focusing on the battle for third position. Henry Howarth, another of our potential drivers of the round in this one as well. So a potential for him maybe to get driver of the round as well. The thoughts are coming through from our race officials as to who might get that. And, well, at the moment, the scrap's on for third, but it's the last lap. James Black has led this one superbly. Thomas Potter has done a very good chase of James Black. And now we get to look at what is the battle for the lead as they go down through Tower, and Potter is putting him under pressure. Are we going to see a Potter move into the chicane? We are seeing a move from Lewis Stannard here, who again could be an option for driver of the round as well, trying to get past Henry Howarth, who has really defended well. It's been a super defence from Henry Howarth as we go back to our leaders, and Potter putting the pressure on, but James Black looking to get a second race 2 win on the bounce here at Croft. Exits from Sonny, comes down to the complex. He's going to be very mindful of Thomas Potter and what moves Thomas can plant on him in the final stages of the complex here. Is he going to be able to do it, Henry?
I think it's a difficult place for it because James Black is going to be very wary of the inside move, and yeah, he just about had it. So it's if Thomas Potter can get the run here, not quite. Yeah, so a nice win from James Black there. He managed the gap perfectly until the end, just had enough pace to hold Potter off. But the battle behind is getting very heated now.
It is. James Black wins round 8 of the championship. Andy Carroll comes through to complete the podium. What a drive from Andy Carroll. Double podium and a very well-timed move. We didn't see if there was any contact from that group on the final few corners, but Andy Carroll comes through and takes 3rd position from Henry Howarth in 4th. Alex Solly is in 5th position. Then it's Lewis Stannard in 6th. Lewis was up to 3rd at one point. Must have got bundled out. We didn't see what happened. Rightly looking at the race leaders coming across the line. Lee Piercy 7th from Andy Dorman. Harry Hickton next up from Alex Walker. William Yap will come home in 10th from Jack McCall, who's up in 12th place. Or is it 11th? 11th, Jack McCall. Best result, best finish for Jack, from Will Clark, Kevin Yap. Next up as the rest of the cars come through. And what a race we have had. There is Chris Mackenzie, who's been, I think, in a physical race, got a couple of the tyre scuffs on the side of the car, but the Bitcoin racing machine is going to make it home in 16th position. So well done to Chris Mackenzie for getting it home and across the line. And we'll chat to our podium drivers and also our driver of the round in just a couple of minutes. And so our 4th event of the season comes to a conclusion with our podium interviews. What an evening's racing that was again. It never fails to deliver, does it? Really good stuff. What a great opening half to the campaign we've had. And we're going to start this one with our 3rd place driver, 3 podium interviews out of race 1 and race 2. Andy Carroll, we didn't see on camera what happened. You know, rightly we were following the race leaders across. Explain what happened on the last few corners for you to come up to 3rd.
Yeah, coming into that final sector, I think I was in 7th, and then I think Lewis and Henry kind of had a side-to-side coming into the sort of right-hander, and then I think Henry kind of tried to then force it down the inside of the final turn, which pushed him, Lewis and Alex wide, and I just kind of kept the inside line and ended up coming out in 3rd. So, definitely one of those last lap Croft situations. I think that you know, that final corner, I think you will see it on the last lap. People sending it, trying to make up a position at the end. But yeah, worked for me. So no complaints. And
the decision is your driver of the round. Well done for 3 podiums. We can't really, argue about that. And you make your own luck to some degree, and you've worked hard at this one. A fair amount of ballast on the car as well for championship, so not really a bad evening.
No, yeah, if you'd offered me two race podiums going into tonight, yeah, I would have been chuffed. So, yeah, that whole race was just brilliant. I mean, the everyone was so close. Loads of battles. You kind of right towards the end there, we kind of were, I think, kind of battling to get past Henry, and then that helped Andy and Lee, I think, catch up to us. So there was 6 of us. Those last few laps, all just going for it, and yeah, it was a really, really good racing overall. I thought it was some of the best racing I've had, so can't complain about that. But yeah, those Tom disappeared off into the distance once he got past Alex, I think it was. So yeah, he was kept seeing him putting in, best lap times and everything, and yeah. I guess he just came up a bit shy from James, but
yeah, he did.
Yeah,
good.
no, that good. Yeah, I'll say can't complain about that second race at all. It was really good fun.
That was good. Well done, Andy. 3 podiums out of 3.
you.
Driver of the round. We'll see you next week.
Hope so. Cheers.
Look forward to that. Thanks, Andy.
Thank
Andy
you.
Carroll, 3rd place driver of the round. And Andy makes a good point about how some of the other drivers did well in that. So we did call out the likes of Lee Pearcey, who recovered really well to get up into the top 10 and was vying for that podium position as well. So well done to Lee Pearcey on a great drive there as well. And we'll say well done for a second interview of the evening with Thomas Potter in P2. Very, very close to James in the final reckoning, Thomas. So happy with that drive?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I've never been more determined after a bad race 1. I think for race 1, it was all about my start. I got too much wheel spin, lost it all, and then from that, I was just going backwards, man. I reset my head, and then was never more determined than ever to try catch up to James and beat him. But unfortunately, I couldn't get it in the end, but it was a stunning drive by him.
Going back to race 1, we saw you go into the lead with a lovely move. You've got that left-hand kink before you get to the right-hander at Tower, and you'd pop the car down the inside of Andy at the lead, and he gave you room around Tower, but then did you just carry a little bit too much momentum down into the S's and Barcroft?
Yeah, it was just, way too much momentum. I was forgetting cold tyres. Is still not, gonna be able to get it full speed, but I think I was just in that moment. It was just one of them times it was send it or, you can stay behind.
And I was asking the question, I don't know whether you get to hear us, you probably have us turned down, but we've got a Janetta Junior meeting coming up at Croft in a few weeks. I'm guessing that you're going to be going to watch that one?
I think so, yeah. Not too sure, but probably, yeah, I will be.
That's good. And when we get you first, have you had a run in the junior yet?
My first ever test in the Janetta was around Croft, which is why I was gutted to not get the win, but I think James is going to have to thank Alex Walker so much for his stunning defence on me, which gave him a nice off ahead. But yeah, that's why I was so determined to get a win here, because it was my first ever test that I've ever done in a car.
Oh, that's good. Shout out for your sponsors.
Absolutely, thanks to, big, massive thanks to you, Faber, for this one. They've been a very big help, as well as Caterham Logistics, Moser Racing, obviously for supplying me with all the stuff, Falcon Computers for PC. But, this race was also to my granddad once again, as well as I'm hoping William from Caterham is enjoying his holiday.
We hope they are too. Well done, Thomas Potter. P2 for our race 2 on our visit to Croft. So well done, Thomas. And we'll see you at Croft for real. I guess at the touring car round, which is next weekend, just over a week's time.
Absolutely, see you there.
Nice one, look forward to that. Thomas Potter then in second position, and our race winner. Second time we've been able to say this on race 2. A really, really cracking drive, albeit from the front, but head down, got away, defended well in the closing stages. James Black, well done, mate. Mega job.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I think if you said it was going to be a lights to flag victory, you think, it'll be easy race. But yeah, it was far from easy. Thomas was coming really quickly, and fair play. He's just been a few tenths quicker than me all the time, but just managed to eke out enough of a gap at the start of the race, and just got it on the line.
Yeah, mega job. The thing with the reverse grid racing, though, with the quality of drivers we've got, there isn't such a thing as an easy win, is there?
No, not at all. I think the whole top 10, when they're not deciding to take each other out, are very, very well possible to win a race. So it's a shame it's not been as clean as I think it could be. But yeah, I think, like you say, there's never an easy win, even in real life mini challenge. My win at Silverstone last year was a reverse grid win, and that wasn't very easy either. So yeah, it's never an easy race in mini challenge. So yeah.
What's the likelihood of seeing you back on track for real?
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? I've done a couple of rounds this year I've done a round in Clear Cup GB and then a round in a classic TR6 at Snetterton a couple of weeks ago, which was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be well and truly ready to go back out again. I think this hopefully proves I've still got it and I haven't lost it over the 6 months I've not been in a proper full-time seat. But yeah, it's unfortunately the old story about money talks and all that in motorsport. But I think what I've done this year, I think I've done pretty damn well in the few one-offs that I've done. But yeah, hopefully we can be back on track for full-time somewhere in the near future.
If anyone's watching this and wants to get involved with a winning driver, we've just seen that, James. You'd be they would do very well to get involved with you. Mini hospitality is fantastic. Always a pleasure to go in and see everyone being looked after there. And it's a proper racing day, isn't it? They do. There's interviews with drivers, great hospitality, shelter if it's horrible weather, and great company.
Exactly. I think being on the the British Touring Car meetings as well, they're just such cool events, and I think especially the demographic now who's grown up watching the Super Tourers and then the S2000 era. Touring cars is in such a interesting year this year. I think it's such a great paddock to support and race in, and yeah, hopefully I'll be back there. Hopefully not too far in the future.
I hope we can get you there, mate. Really, really do. In the meantime, we hope you're going to be back with us next week. Silverstone, the testing's already open, and Harry Hickton is already testing for next week, believe it or not. He's actually on the timing screen now doing some laps, so he's keen to get back at it. But well done to James Black, our Race 2 winner. Thanks ever so much for chatting to us, and well done again.
No worries. I better get on there and see if I can beat Harry already.
Nice one, James. Good luck with that. So there's James Black, winner. Championship-wise, Lewis Stannard now has increased his lead over Andy Dorman. Andy's still in P2 with Harry Hickton third. That's why he's on the server, looking to move up. Andy Carroll fourth. All very close, though. Thomas Potter moves up from 8th to 5th, and James Black into 6th position. So James retaining his place. Alex Solly is in 7th from Lee Piercy 8th. Henry Howarth in 9th, and Mackenzie Taylor is in 10th place. I've got to say a massive, massive thank you to Henry for it. Been an absolute pleasure having you commentate with us. We'd love to get you on again. I know you did a couple with one of our other commentators before, so thanks for joining us. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been awesome. The racing, as always, with Mini Challenge has been incredible, and of course the broadcast with VRRC is always incredible as well. So thank you guys for having me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks
very much, Henry, and thanks to Ria and the team from Minis for again getting us a top-notch co-commentator. Absolute pleasure to work with Henry Foot. And regards to the family, Henry, I hope you have a mega rest of down there in France and not jealous at all. Thanks also to Steve Allen for the broadcast and direction. Next week, as we mentioned, we have another guest commentator. We'll find out who it is in the week, can't you, rather than me tell you now. But we're at Silverstone on the national circuit, as you've already seen. In the meantime, if you fancy watching a little bit more in terms of virtual reality racing, club racing, we've got the touring car head-to-head with another pretty full grid. We'll be racing tomorrow night with Scott Woodwiss and Becky Aparicio on the co-commentary. But from me, Richard John Neal, have a lovely week. Thanks for watching. Be nice to each other. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Parker gets too heavily involved, and that's Whitehead and Coates.